How's it going, everyone? This is Kay with Prime Arcade Sales and Repair down in Odessa, Texas. I wanted to show you this very rare game I came across and repaired. There's not a lot of info about it online, let alone pictures or any videos of gameplay. This is Fortress. It's a 1979 game by Gremlin. They made a Japanese version by Sega. This is the American version. It is my understanding that they built it, field tested it, and it did very poorly, so they didn't mass produce it. So I'm not entirely sure how many of these things there are, but I'm willing to bet that this is the only one I'll ever see in my lifetime. So anyway, it is a black and white raster monitor game. And as you can see, it has a black light lit background, kind of like some of the games of this era did. Now there's an error in these sprites. All these lines you see here on the left, that is supposed to be a pirate ship that is firing these cannonballs, but for whatever reason it will not draw that sprite. I'm guessing there's something wrong with one of the ROMs, but these ROMs have never been dumped, so I can't get a fresh set of them to confirm that. So the game plays correctly otherwise, it just does not draw that ship. But it does make it look like that ship there in the background is actually firing them, so it's kind of a neat effect. I think it would be better if those little random sprites weren't there. It would actually look like it's supposed to be that way. Anyway, the point of the game is this pirate ship is firing cannonballs at your fortress, and you have these three cannons here that you can fire to intercept those cannonballs. It's kind of Missile Command-esque, except you can't control what direction you're shooting in. You just fire from three different cannons, and they shoot at their own angles. The numbers underneath tell you how many cannonballs that each of those cannons has intercepted. It also keeps score, gives you a high score. The game lasts 60 seconds or until 8 cannonballs have hit your fortress, and that's your game over. So it's a very simplistic game, and gonna be honest, not all that fun. But it is a collector's item, that's for sure. So get some more light in here. You can see the bezel here. The artwork on this thing is actually in pretty good shape. It does have some signs of wear, especially here along the paint, just, flaking off, and possibly a little water damage. The cabinet is solid, but you kind of see here at the bottom a little bit evidence of that. Mostly cosmetic. It's a 1982 tech stamp. The artwork's certainly not the worst. It also has some stickers in here from one that was in a timeout in 1979. And a couple others from other timeout locations, all the way up to September of 1980. I wish these location codes would tell me where in the US that these arcades were, but with that having a Texas tax stamp, I'm guessing it'd be somewhere here in Texas. And the fact that I found this machine in Lubbock, meaning it probably didn't go too far. There's also a subwoofer down here. I think that's where most, if not all, the sound comes from. But let's coin it up. Yeah, this one on the left that fires straight up. That one fires to the right to try to intercept them before it's too late, and that one fires as they come out. You'll notice that the cannonball noise is kind of annoying. There's 5 different noises, they all sound the same, and they are constant throughout the game, so it's actually kind of annoying to listen to. But as you can see, there's not a whole lot going on, so I can understand why this game didn't test too well. There's not much to it. But if you're a fan, I mean, it's for sale. Make me an offer. Alright, so there's a mirror here. Let me close this door again. close this door and turn down the volume, so that'll shut the hell up. There's a mirror here because the monitor's down there facing upwards. Unfortunately, there is a crack in the top left of it, which I have reinforced with Gorilla Tape, which doesn't look great, but it doesn't obstruct your view of the monitor, and it's certainly better to have that than to have the mirror fall apart in the middle of a game. The background, all of this is in pretty decent shape and lights up nicely under black light. But if you look at it from the back, it was all torn up. So I've had to reinforce it with more Gorilla Tape. So it's not aesthetically pleasing back here, but at least it won't fall apart during the game. Looks good from the front, terrible from the back. Ever had a woman like that? Don't quote me on that. Here's the insides. The board. I had to do some pretty extensive repair to this board. I replaced pretty much anything that's in a socket, with the exception of the ROMs. Those have never been dumped, but the Z80 and all the RAMs, a couple of the 74 LS chips, everything that the manual told me to check for, certain chips there and a couple transistors that it told me would be the most likely culprits if the game did not boot, so I replaced all of those. The issue that I did find that ended up fixing the game is all these socketed RAMs down here. Several of them had one or more legs that were not making contact all the way through. Also, one of them had a leg that was bent because I didn't put it in right. But I did find it, fix it, and then those individual legs, I was able to just kind of push down on them and they made connection. So I'm guessing they just weren't completely straightened. They seem to be fine now, and I've taken the board in and out several times since then, and they've held. There's also a 10K pot up here, which you can't see because, you know, there's terrible lighting. But it's just a simple, what I would assume is a volume pot, but doesn't actually seem to do anything because the volume pot's up front. Dark as hell, but down there is also a soundboard. And the power supply board, which was not working. I have swapped it out with a switcher. It just takes 5, -5, and 12, and I think -12, which are all things that the switcher does, so I just put that in. But it also takes 3 volts AC, which the original power supply was still putting out, so I let it keep doing that. But also, according to the manual, that's integral to having this thing work, so it had to have that 3 volts AC, which it does. Speaking of manuals, it did come with it, which is good because there's certainly not one in line, but it was a treasure trove of information that I could not have done this repair without. But it has a lot of troubleshooting things, and it's very detailed about what I should have checked, and then it's full of parts lists and schematics. So with that, I was able to get the game to work. So thank God. Anyway, that is Fortress. I still have a couple things left to do, just, you know, secure the boards down there and everything. I will most likely not be able to get that pirate ship sprite to come up because, well, there are no ROMs for me to burn, so I'm just going to have to suck it up, but the game works perfectly fine without them. So, you have now seen the rarest game I've ever worked on. Like I said, have no idea how many of these exist in the wild. It's not exactly a prototype game, so there are a few out there, but most people have never heard of it and don't seem to have any information on it. So here it is. Thanks for watching.